right. We're gonna bear it all today, baby. Reading through your guys' assumptions, it is very interesting to read what you think about me, because the reality is we share a lot on my channel, and especially if you're someone that watches a lot of our vlogs, like not just the ones I put on here, but like travel vlogs we've done on Tyler's channel, our Vlogmas vlogs. We show a lot of our lives and we share a lot, but it's very interesting to hear how wrong some of your guys' assumptions are, because I always think like, oh, you guys are gonna like be dead on because you know me so well, but you don't. I'm just kidding. No, a lot of you guys are dead on. So we're gonna get into it. Some of these hurt my feelings, but I'm trying to get a thick skin. Yeah, so let's dive in. First assumption is you're demanding in your friendships. I actually don't think that I am. Well, friends, if any of you guys are watching, what do you think? You can chime in here. I'm going to be honest. I feel like I was never really taught, and I don't know when you're taught this, but I feel like I never really knew how to be a good friend. And so I made so many mistakes, and I've talked about this before, when I was younger, like high school, college, where I was choosing boys over my friends or just making really dumb choices that ruined friendships. And looking back now as I think, real adult in my 30s, I see how dumb those things were and how that ruined friendships. And I wish I could take myself when I was in my younger 20s and just shake myself. I wish I'd realized how important friendships were. I just wasn't good at being a friend. I genuinely wasn't. And so that's something I so consciously work on now as an adult, because I do have adult friends that I love dearly. And it's crazy that I never realized how much work friendships can be. And I don't mean the friendships I have now are work, but just that you do have to make somewhat of a conscious effort to keep those alive, or else, I mean, what else? What is there? You know what I mean? If you haven't talked to someone in 4 years, that's not really a friendship. So I don't think that I'm demanding, though. If anything, I would be the one that, I feel like I'm the bad friend. Like, I'm the one that's always like, can we do this another day? Can we reschedule this? Like, I have something came up, you know. But yeah, no, I don't think I'm demanding. And I don't think any of my friends are demanding either. I feel like we're all pretty understanding of each other's time. And the other thing is, adult friends, like when you're an adult, no matter what your situation is, with jobs or a spouse or kids or whatever, your time is just stretched. And so trying to make sure that you still find time for them can be hard. And so I think it's important to be understanding when it comes to your friends. You know what I mean? Understanding of their time constraints and things going on in their life that might affect when they can get together with you. I don't even know what I'm saying. But back to the question, I don't think that I'm demanding in friendships. I hope not. And like I said, friends, if you're watching, cheers. Let me know if I'm too demanding. You're the only person that calls you Jessie. That made me laugh out loud when I read it. I'm covered in dog fur, by the way. No, my entire family calls me Jessie. And in fact, if I ever heard one of them call me Jessica, it would sound incredibly weird. Incredibly weird. So no, my entire side of the family calls me Jessie. But then it's funny because like my friends call me Jess or Jessica. And if they called me Jessie, it would sound weird to me. Like it wouldn't offend me, but it would sound odd. So it is kind of weird how in our minds, if you do have nicknames, like it's like in your mind you separate who calls you what, and when they switch, you're like, no, this isn't right. You don't call me that. You hate cooking and want Tyler to do it all. So this is actually a very interesting assumption, because Tyler and I cook evenly in this household. Tyler and I both came from families where our moms cooked every night pretty much. And so we both have just always been around that kind of thing, and we both like to cook. And so in our day-to-day, our cooking is split. We pretty much just trade off every other night. And unless it's like a leftover night or we're just doing frozen pizza or, you know, whatever. I actually really enjoy it. And there are some nights that we both are like, we both want to cook. And we're like, well, and it's like a mini argument because we're like, no, I want him to cook. So it's interesting. But the thing that is a huge difference between Tyler and I with that is he likes to get into the scientific, like, he likes to bake bread, and if you've seen his rants on freaking sourdough, that bores me. Not his rants, but just generally, like, baking bread bores me. Like, the idea of that is so boring, but I love that he loves to do it because then I get to eat the delicious bread. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I think because he shares a lot of that, a lot of you guys maybe assume that he's the only one that cooks, and I don't. I actually really like to cook, and I would like to think I'm pretty good at cooking, so... So no, I actually do like cooking, and I don't want Tyler to do it all, and sometimes we argue about that. And by the way, a lot of assumptions were about, I don't know if I took a screenshot, but a lot of you guys assume that Tyler and I never fight. Oh my gosh, please, you guys. we are normal human beings. We don't pick up the camera if we're in the middle of an argument to film it for you guys, because that would be incredibly bizarre. So yes, of course we argue. I don't think we argue a lot though, and I think that, I don't know, we're both, I don't want to say we're calm people, because I can have a pretty short fuse, and I get that from my father. Sorry, Dad, to throw you under the bus. But he has taught me a lot in the past. I mean, we've been together now, this is 12 years. Not married, but like together in general, 12 years. He's taught me a lot about patience, because he's a very patient person, and so I think that's rubbed off on me a lot. But we don't get into huge arguments, and if we do, it's usually about one of us thinking we're right and the other we're thinking the other person is wrong. That's almost always what it is, and it's usually when we're in the car, and it's usually because he thinks one route is shorter than it really is, and I'm telling him, no, this is the shorter route, trust me, and that is usually what the argument's about. Anyway, but we don't agree on everything. Like, we don't agree on a lot of really big things, but we've kind of just realized that we listen to each other and we try to understand where they're coming from, and that's kind of that. Like, I'm never going to change him into thinking exactly the way I think about every single thing under the sun, and vice versa. But I do think we've definitely come together and seen the light together on a lot of like issues, and so that has been nice too. We've grown a lot together. So I think if you're in a relationship where you really think you can change a person dramatically, you're in the wrong relationship, because people can change, and people do change, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. But to really think that you can totally transform someone, I think is a big mistake. And it's just going to lead to a lot of heartache down the road. Tyler was your only serious relationship? No, I was actually engaged before I met Tyler to someone else. That relationship was very fraught, and I'm not going to get into it all here because, quite frankly, I don't really want to. It's not something I think about, talk about, care about anymore. But it was one that it was certainly not meant to be. I'm so thankful it didn't work out. I really am, you guys. And it's one of those things that every once in a while I'll get DMs from you guys about, like, you know, you just went through a serious breakup and it was awful, and my best advice is always just, as annoying as it sounds in the moment when you're really grieving losing a relationship, is that, my gosh, as every day goes by, you will think about that person less and less. And if it didn't work out, it didn't work out for a reason. And sometimes it's better for it to have not worked out now versus 10 years from now. You know what I'm saying? So it's not super helpful to hear, but years down the road, you'll look back and be like, oh my gosh, thank goodness I didn't end up with them, you know? You've completely lost touch with reality. Thank you. What am I supposed to do with that assumption? I would like to think I have not, genuinely. I think that one thing that just comes with finding any sort of success, so whatever you want to call it, with like YouTube, is that I'm making more money now than I was when I was teaching. I had kind of made a deal with myself in my head that if I were to get to the point where I was making more money than I was teaching, which is unfortunately easy to do because teachers are horribly underpaid. Don't get me started on that, okay? But anyway, I told myself that is when I would step away from teaching, and it timing-wise just worked out because that was when I was pregnant with Genevieve. So literally, like, my last day when I was like taking my maternity leave was right towards the end of the school year, and it was kind of like tying it up with a bow. But the reality is I do make more money doing YouTube right now in my life, and that can change in the blink of an eye. I mean, that's just the reality of it, and this is not me trying to brag. I'm just trying to be honest with you guys. And I think because of that, when people watch videos, especially if you don't know us or you haven't watched our channel for a while, I think you might look at it and be like, oh wow, they've just totally lost touch with reality. But I don't think that we have. I really just genuinely don't. And that's something we both try to remind ourselves of, is like, okay, our jobs are weird and different, and not everyone gets that this is a job, and that just is what it is, but it's becoming more and more common. And I think a lot of YouTubers, I mean, we've all seen YouTubers really totally lose touch with reality. I mean, you can probably think of 5 right now that you're like, oh my gosh, they are so wealthy or so whatever that they don't even know what like real life is like. And I do think I have lost touch with some things from my past. I think some for the better, not necessarily to do with money or anything like that, but just things in my past I used to hold on to that I've just realized I don't need to make space for in my life because they are not important in my life anymore. So I hope that I've not lost touch with the reality. I don't really know how to tackle that assumption, because if you are I don't know if that person might have been joking. They might have been serious as could be. I don't know. But I don't know. I don't know how to respond to that, I guess is what I'm saying, because we just live our lives like normal. Our jobs are different than I know a lot of people's jobs are. Trust me, it took me years to kind of get used to the fact that I'm not going into a 9-to-5 job. And I know to some of you guys, you're listening and thinking, oh my gosh, I wish I didn't have to do that. And I get it. I mean, that's where I was when I was teaching. I didn't want to always wake up super early, and I love kids and I love teaching, but it's still a job. But I think as the years have gone by, I just realized that some jobs are just less structured, and I have to learn to be okay with that because I do love what I'm doing right now for my job. And like I said, that could change at any minute. And I think that's another reason why Tyler and I talk a lot about not losing touch with, I hesitate to say normal life, because what does that even mean? But we don't want to lose touch because we know that any of this could be taken away at any minute. YouTube could just freaking disappear tomorrow. I don't know. Then what, right? And so I think having a healthy view of nothing lasts forever, and we're really, really lucky right now and really blessed to be doing what we love to do, but that it might not be forever. So, boy, I spent a lot of time on that one. Sometimes you're embarrassed to be from a big family. So, no, but I do want to explain. So, I am one of 6 kids. I would consider that a big family. It's funny because Tyler's dad is one of 12. 12. Can you imagine? Oh my gosh. Anyway, so just generally, it's larger families are around us, I'm not embarrassed of that at all. It's interesting that someone would think that. But I will say, as a kid, I used to be kind of embarrassed. We would have this, sorry, Mom and Dad. We would have this big old van, and it was cream and brown. There's a big old brown stripe around it. And I used to be so embarrassed. And I look back, and it just kills me that I was embarrassed, because that was a nice van that got us from place to place, and it worked and it fit all of us. But it's just so funny because I remember that very visceral, when I would see my mom, I hope she's not watching. I'm sorry, Mommy. When I would see her rolling up to pick me up from school, I'd be like, oh. So I think that you're just a kid. You know what I mean? I was 10 or 11. It was play practice she was picking me up from. And I think there's always going to be something that at that age you're embarrassed about. And so for me, it was that, and having a larger family and that kind of thing. But as an adult, I dropped that pretty quickly. And if anything, I'm proud of it because I love that I have so many different siblings, and we are all wildly different, you guys. Wildly different. It's just crazy that we're all related because we are all so different. So on that vein, kind of, while you have strong values and political opinions, you're accepting of differing views. 100% I am very open-minded. And I think, regardless of your political view, okay, and I want you to listen very closely to your sister, Jessica, or Jessie, since we're family. We need to be more open freaking minded, okay? That is the problem right now. If you are so far left or right, if you are so far in whatever camp, you start to become blinded to normal life and what's actually affecting us every day and I think that's the problem with just political parties in general, because everyone wants to pigeonhole. So many assumptions were you're super conservative, and so many assumptions were you're super liberal. Y'all, I'm just moderate. I'm right in the middle. There are certain issues that I am way left on, and there are certain issues that I'm right on, and a lot of them I'm somewhere in between, because I am someone that believes in a gray area. There's a gray area in life, you guys, and I feel like it's so easy to forget that. And if you're someone in one far end of the camp, if you will, whatever camp, that you only watch that version of your news and you're only being fed that stuff, you're never going to break free from that. You're never going to be able to kind of shake your head and be like, okay, but what's really going on in our lives? What is really affecting our day to day? Because that's your life. You know what I mean? So I always worry talking about politics that I'm going to offend someone. I don't know how I could possibly offend someone with what I just said, because I really do think we all need to be more open-minded. And I think if you're honest with yourself, a lot more of us are more moderate, somewhere in the middle, than you maybe realize. And I think that's important. I think it's important to see that in life there's a gray area, and it doesn't have to be so black or white. You know what I mean? And I will always believe that. And that's why I really do think I'm very open-minded and very accepting of other people's opinions, because I think your opinion is valid no matter what you believe. I may disagree with you on certain issues, but I also think it's a huge fallacy to think that, well, because I'm insert whatever political affiliation, political party, because I'm this, then I must believe in this social issue and on this side of this financial issue and this side of this political issue. The odds that you happen to be a political party and in that party you happen to believe all of those different things, And think about it. Social issues are very different than like financial issues, which are very different than different like laws. The odds that you pick a party and you're like, yes, and I agree with everything this side has to say is crazy because our life is so multifaceted. And so I just fear that that is just kind of blindly following whichever party you may be a part of. Now, I'm not saying there is anything wrong. I do want to make this caveat with voting along a certain party line because there are certain issues that if that's the thing you feel the strongest about, then I think that makes sense. But I guess what I'm saying is it's important to, in your everyday life, to remember that we do need to be open-minded and that it's not so black and white and that we need to listen to each other because that's what's been the issue for quite a while now is that we're not listening to each other. And you go into your camp and you shut your door and you la 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 with whatever the other side is saying. And I think that's problematic because that's not, I mean, I'm a Christian. I don't believe that that's what Jesus would have wanted. Genuinely, I don't think two very differing political parties is at all what he envisioned. So, I don't know. All right. I'm sure I lost some of you, but that's okay. I'm trying to be better about, if I genuinely believe in something, I can't apologize for sharing that. And I think I'm just kind of tired, and I think a lot of us are. We're just kind of tired of feeling like you have to walk on tiptoes when if you fervently believe in what you're saying and you believe you're doing or saying the right thing, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I do, however, think that there is such a thing as misinformation that goes around. So I do have a problem with some, but I think you get what I'm saying, that I just think we need to be more mindful of each other and listening to each other and not just shutting each other out. You like to be liked. Oh, can't you tell? Don't we all? I just feel like it's natural to want to be liked. And it's definitely taken me years to come around to the fact that there are just people that aren't going to like me, whether that's in the online world or in regular life. And you know what is what it is. You're living your life. You're doing the best you can. I don't think anyone has evil intentions in their heart intentionally. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't think anyone is naturally evil unless you've maybe got some kind of mental thing going on or, I genuinely don't believe that in people. And so if I'm doing the best that I can with my life and doing what I think is right and you're doing the best you can and we just don't happen to like each other, oh well, right? Like, oh well. You just move on. I think about people I've worked with in the past. I freaking love so many of the people I've worked with, but there's always going to be people in your life that you don't necessarily get along with for one reason or another. And, it is what it is. If it's not really, really affecting your day-to-day beyond just that maybe slight discomfort at work when you're like stuck alone with them in the lunchroom, then, oh well, You feel more confident with your second child on the way, but still a bit anxious. Yeah, I think you pretty much nailed it. We definitely do feel more confident, but I'm trying to remind myself, like, Jessica, it's hard though. Don't forget, it's hard, and we're going to be tired. And I had this realization this morning. Genevieve came in and kind of woke us up and, like in the morning, like 7:30 or 8. So we're kind of getting up, rubbing our eyes. And I had this realization like, oh my gosh, in a few months, it could have been that at 6 a.m., we just fed the baby and just fell back asleep. And an hour later, Genevieve's coming in. Because I'm like, I know that we've got a second kid and it's going to make things way harder. But I don't know that like those little details of how the day and night will look have really fused yet in my mind. And that was one of those fusion moments where I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be way harder. It really is. But I think the age spread is kind of nice. It'll be almost 4 years that they're apart, shave off a couple months. And I feel like it's a nice age spread because she is potty trained. She is pretty, self-sufficient-ish. Like we still help her go to the bathroom. But she's good playing on her own. She's good at that kind of thing. So I think in that way, it doesn't feel like we're taking care of two babies. You know what I mean? So I do think this age gap was kind of nice. It kind of just was what it was because when we first started trying, there would have been a 3-year age gap. So you're tough on yourself as a parent. Again, aren't we all? Parent guilt is so real, and you could be doing the best job you could possibly do, and you're always going to be in your head thinking, I should have done more of this, and I should do more of this with her. But it's life, and you're being the best parent you can be, but you also still need to take a beat, and you still need to get dishes done, and you still need to, you know what I mean? I've mentioned this recently, but I feel like I'll even feel guilty if I'm like, all right, Genevieve, we played for like 45 minutes together. Mommy's going to go do dishes or put away laundry. You play on your own. You can come with me if you want, And then I'll feel guilty that she's playing on her own and I'm like, I should be playing with her. But I'm like, Jessica, you still have to live your life and do your laundry and your dishes, and you can't feel guilty about not playing with your kid 24/7. It's important for her to feel that boredom. I've read so many things about boredom in kids is a good thing because that's where they start to get creative. And I just think no matter what you're doing, you will always feel guilty about something and you'll always think you're not good enough. And I think that's just part of being a parent. I really do. Some of your guys' assumptions are so far off. It's crazy. And I'm like, what have we said or done to make you think that? This person, that you would never say a cuss word, or you're just in general extremely innocent. No, I do curse. I make a very, first of all, I'm trying to be better. We've got a 4-year-old. If we curse all the time at this point, she repeats everything we've said. A while ago, a few months ago, one of us cursed and she repeated it, and we both were like frozen face, because we were like, if we react to her and if we laugh, she will repeat it over and over. So we both tried to act like nothing, and she hasn't said it again since. But that was kind of a moment where we were like, okay, we really need to hold back on that. You don't need to use curse words. And I love words, you guys, but sometimes you just need to use a certain word. I can't explain it. But I don't use that. I'm trying to use it less in my life because it's not necessary. You know what I mean? But on top of that, I intentionally don't on my channel, because I know a lot of you guys are watching with kids running around, or you're watching, or you yourself don't curse, whatever. And I don't need to use those words. You know what I mean? And so I think that's it. But yeah, no, I definitely do curse from time to time. My friends will tell you. But honestly, like, having a kid, it's good for me, because I'm like, I can certainly choose better, stronger words than those. But sometimes when you stub your toe just right, there is no other thing. Like, you have to. There we go. Here's someone. You have a horrible potty mouth. I can just see it. You're careful about how you say things because you worry people will be offended. Of course, you guys. I don't think you could share your life online the way we do. And especially for the 9 years I've been doing it. Oh my gosh. And not tiptoe all the time. And I think that's kind of what I was trying to get at earlier. It's natural to not want to offend someone. And the reality is, I never want to say something that's like genuinely offensive just to offend. You know what I mean? I think that would just be weird. But yeah, I just think a lot of things that can be said can be very misconstrued, can be taken out of context, can be, you know, I don't know. Like, if this is the first video you're watching of me, I think it'd be odd. I don't know, because I'm spouting a lot of stuff. And if this is the first time you're meeting me, I'm so sorry. I'm not normally like this. But yeah, I feel like I am definitely careful. See, this is another thing. I mean no disrespect. You and Tyler are my favorite people, but I think you're strict parents. I had a lot of other ones saying that we let Gigi rule the house. It's very split. Like, you either think we're super strict or not strict at all. Listen, I come from being a teacher, and I have seen what kids can be like if they are given the rule of the roost. It was 5th grade that I was teaching. That's age 10. That's at 10 years old. There's still a very specific way. And when I would meet the parents and I would watch the kids with the parents, I would think, yep, it all connects. That is why they act that way. But then I also see kids where the parents are super strict, and it's black and white. And if you break this rule, this happens. And I guess my point, what I've learned from those 4 years of teaching, is that it needs to be somewhere in the middle. Again, it's that moderation. It's that moderate area where you need to have rules and guidelines. Kids need rules and structure. They crave it. We all, as humans, a lot of us crave structure. But they also need to be able to be treated like humans and understand why something might be a rule, why it might be important to be quiet in a library, why you should wash your hands after you go to the bathroom. I don't know. And I think that's the key. And obviously, I have very little experience. Okay, I've got almost a 3.5-year-old, right? That's all the experience I have so far. So I don't really know what I'm saying, but just from the teaching standpoint, watching it, and also all the like educational stuff, classes I took, obviously, to get my degree, that's kind of what I've learned, is that it really needs to be both. And so that's kind of where we're at. We definitely tell her no. I think earlier on, we were less apt to say no, but we've definitely realized in the past year, like, okay, we need to really like lay down certain rules and certain things and say no to her more, so she understands, especially when the second baby comes. She's got all the attention on her right now, and it's going to be very different. So that's kind of where we're at with that. We are not perfect at any version of any system, but that's kind of where our mindset is. You came from a rich family. No. You don't spend much time with your siblings. So my siblings range in age from like 48 to like 31, I think, is my younger brother. And I fall in the lineup. I'm 33, so I'm like second to youngest. It's a pretty wide gap, you guys. And a lot of my siblings have their own kids. Everyone's got jobs, own their own businesses. Like, we all do our own thing. And so while most of us live in the same town, which is amazing, Not all of us do. So yeah, I feel like we don't see each other. I mean, I'd love to see them all the freaking time, but we do see each other generally in normal times, if you will, once a month. We'd have like a family dinner where all of us get together, and it's so much fun. It's been a little odd, obviously, the past few years, and we didn't do it for a while there. But we've definitely gotten back into it more, and so that is nice, and it's a perfect way to be able to see everyone and catch up, because otherwise, you know, you just don't, like I said, life gets in the way when you're trying to deal with that many different people. It's hard to. But like I said, we are all so wildly different in every way, in like what we do in life. Like, none of us have similar jobs. None of us. The more I think about it, I'm like, none of us do the same thing, like not even close. And, you know, some have 6 or 7 kids, some have no kids, some have 2 kids, and one of them is due to have their baby any day now. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I think we actually see each other probably more often than you would think. But I wish it was more, but I don't know how we would make that work. But I think once a month is pretty darn good, and I love them all. They're all so wildly different, like I said. And we all differ even politically, religiously. Like, everyone has their own views on different stuff. So it makes conversations at home, like when we're all together, very interesting. All right, I think I'll end it there. I hope I feel like anytime I do a video like this, I'm like, well, I hope I didn't offend too many of you. I want to make it clear that I don't ever mean to offend someone. And I don't think most people do. Like, you're not going at a conversation like this with ill intentions, or, you know what I mean? And so I hope that came through. I love you guys. Thanks for letting me just chat. I was actually going to film a different video today, and I was going to make it be one. I was like, I don't feel like doing that today. This sounded way more what I was feeling. Like, mentally, I was like, I just want to talk to you guys. I just want to talk. So thank you for giving me the space to do that. I love you all. Thank you for being understanding with all of my responses. I'd love to hear your thoughts on any of the things we talked about down below. Please be civil, okay? Please be kind. You can be mean to me. Please be kind to each other. Just chill, okay? We're all in this same world. We're all struggling with whatever we're struggling with. Just let us be calm. I feel like generally I am very lucky to have you guys, because you guys are all so understanding and kind in the comments. And so I thank you ahead of time for continuing that. And yeah, I love you all. I hope you'll subscribe and stick around, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.